What went into your decision to join the White House as an advisor?
The campaign, I never thought about joining. It was kind of like get to the end of it. And when it started, I was like, everything in my life was almost firing on all cylinders. I had 2 young kids at home. During the course of the campaign, I ended up, I was pregnant with my third. So this young family, my businesses, real estate and fashion, and working alongside my brothers, running the Trump Hotel collection. And we had so many, my life was full and busy. And so there was a big part of me that was just wanted to get through, just get through it, without really thinking forward to what the implications were for me. But when my father won, he asked Jared and I to join him. And in asking that question, keep in mind he was a total outsider. So there was no bench of people as he would have today. He had never spent the night in Washington, D.C. before staying in the White House. And so when he asked us to join him, he trusted us. He trusted in our ability to execute. And there wasn't a part of me that could imagine the 70 or 80-year-old version of myself looking back and having been okay with having said no and going back to my life as I knew it before. I mean, in retrospect, I realized there is no life as you know it before, but just the idea of not saying yes, wherever that would lead me, and so I dove in. I was also, during the course of the campaign, I was just much more sensitive to the problems and experiences of Americans. I gave you an example before of the father in New Hampshire, but even just in my consumption of information, I had a business that was predominantly young women, many of which were thinking about having a kid, had just had a child, were planning on that life event. And I knew what they needed to be able to show up every day and realize this dream for themselves, and the support structures they would need to have in place. And I remember reading this article at the time in one of the major newspapers of a woman. She had a very solid job working at one of the blue chip accounting firms, and the recession came. She lost her job around the same time as her partner left her, and over a matter of months, she lost her home. So she wound up with her 2 young kids after bouncing around between neighbors, living in their car. She gets a call back from one of the many interviews she had done for a second interview where she was all but guaranteed the job, should that go well. And she had arranged childcare for her 2 young children with a neighbor in her old apartment block. And the morning of the interview, she shows up and the neighbor doesn't answer the doorbell. And she stands there 5-10 minutes, doesn't answer. So she has a choice. Does she go to the interview with her children, or does she try to cancel? She gets in her car, drives to the interview, leaves her 2 children in the backseat of the car with the window cracked, goes into the interview and gets pulled out of the interview by police because somebody had called the cops after seeing her children in the backseat of the car. She gets thrown in jail. Her kids get taken from her. And she spends years fighting to regain custody. And I think about, that's an extreme example, but I think about something like that. And I say, if I was the mother and we were homeless, would I have gone to that interview? And I probably would have. And that is not an acceptable situation, so you hear stories like that, and then you get asked, will you come with me? And it's really hard to say no. I spent 4 years in Washington. I feel like I left it all in the field. I feel really good about it. And I feel really privileged to have been able to do what I did.
A chance to help many people. Saying no means you're kind of turning away from those people. So you
Felt like that to me.
Yeah. Yeah, but then it's the turmoil of politics that you're getting into, and it really is a leap into the abyss.